Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Oh, remember this. In the 60s, people took acid to make the world weird. Now the world is weird, and people take Prozac to make it normal. It never ends. Here's Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody. On a Tuesday, Zeb at the Ranch, good morning. Thank you very much. And there's the great voice of Kate Smith. And God bless America this morning. And welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers in all 7 locations serving you. Wonderful people at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Along with some of our great advertisers, too, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage, locally owned and operated. 734-6969, and everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, and you stop over and see those good folks today at Valleywide. Right now, it is time for our pledger. Good morning, and let's see if we have someone on the air. Go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rotten, you do such a good job on that in the morning, and I really appreciate it. God bless you and your very quiet, shy, retiring wife. Hey, God bless you, folks. Take care.
You too.
All right. Thank you so much. I love those people. They're really fun to be around. It is time for the weather forecast with Michael Rogers Weather. And as you know, that's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, 678-6945. Got some more of those design tips from Whitney this morning. And this one really makes a lot of sense. I like this one. Instead of a towel bar, mount 5 robe hooks 68 inches high for towels and robes. I can't stand those towel bars. You don't get them on straight. It looks sloppy, but if you have those hooks, I think it looks a lot better. Good idea from Whitney Cheney at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Carpet, flooring, kitchen construction, everything you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. And now the one, the only, Michael Rogers Weather.
Got a nice looking day for Tuesday, May 28th, or make that April 28th. Pretty darn good in the Magic Valley. Temperatures in the low 70s. Should get up in the mid 70s while you work your way toward the weekend. A lot of sun. Very little clouds. I've had a pretty good day yesterday. I had the opportunity to be at Caesar's Palace to shoot Mariah Carey, and she's now making her residency there. Where am I going with this? I'll be in the Magic Valley May the 8th, and if you're interested in photographs in the form of senior portraits of headshots, or even I'll be there in time to get a family portrait of you so you can pass on to Mother's Day, which is going to be on May the 10th. I'll be there. Give me a call, 702-250-2666. 888-2114. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Very well done. And by the way, Michael is an excellent photographer. And if you also want to go through me to let him know that you're interested in some pictures, just give me a call at 312-2976. That's the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Like I said, look for the blue door. The number to call, 678-6945. Hey, don't forget on Thursdays, it's sale day at the sale that works for you. Burley Livestock Commission Company. You better believe it. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-9411. Give Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy a jingle. And for all your consignments and information about the sale, remember, 10 a.m. every Thursday, Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 678-9411. All right, now it's your turn. And I'll tell you, this morning, I want to talk primarily about the animals, the wild animals in Baltimore. And we're going to get right into that in a minute. And I'd like your comments on what took place back there last night and what very possibly could take place again there this evening. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. These folks have been so good to me, and I absolutely, I don't know how many years it's been now. It's been at least 10 that we've been going in there with our clothes, all my Wranglers, all my shirts, everything, and they do a phenomenal job. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Everything you take in there as far as Rumply Crumplies will come back looking brand spanking new. So please stop in and see them today. The best. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. And along with being the best, you also have to acknowledge the number one wireless internet for the state of Idaho. And that's SafeLink Internet. Number to call, 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. And don't forget the first month free and free installation. Holy cow, you better get a hold of them today. No contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data with SafeLink Internet. Absolutely the best. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. My wife and I were absolutely drawn to the television set last night and watching wild animals with no regard to human decency or regard to personal property. Baltimore burned last night because of, and I'll use a very simple word, dumb leadership and no leadership from the mayor. If you'll recall, the mayor had made a comment the other day, and she said, in the aftermath of violent protests over the recent death of Freddie Gray, saying she wanted to give space to those who wish to destroy. Well, they had space last night. They definitely had the space last night as they looted businesses, destroyed people's lifelong work as to putting a business in that section of Baltimore. They burned cars. They burned buildings. They absolutely were like wild animals last night. And Baltimore burned last night like the British wanted to burn it over 250 years ago. And I was mesmerized by the stupidity and the lack of leadership in that city, and also from the top down, from the Oval Office right to the mayor of Baltimore. There have been reports that President Obama had given a restraint order to the police and the hierarchy of Baltimore. And if that is true, then we really ought to point the finger at the Oval Office and the president himself. This was absolutely pathetic. The mayor created an incendiary position last night, if you will, with her words that caused the problem. And police were taking the toll on what happened yesterday because they basically were in retreat. I have never seen anything like that. Young punks, 14, 15, 17, 19 years of age, throwing rocks and bottles and anything they could at the police, and the police backing up and away with no confrontation. It was not America. It was absolutely jungle behavior. And really the destruction of these businesses. And think about it, if it was your business, whether it's a shoe store, whether it's a hardware store, whether it's a pharmacy, whether it's a grocery store, and these wild animals were burning and looting, and they have no common sense, or they absolutely are the dumbest people on the face of the earth, because that's their environment. That's their neighborhood. And they took away their sources of supplying their living needs by burning out the grocery store, burning out the pharmacies, burning out the clothing stores. What kind of idiots are these? Give me your thoughts. And it can happen anywhere in the United States at any time. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Folks, come on, you've always been the greatest audience in the world. Don't let me down. Give me your call and your thoughts on this problem that we had last night in Baltimore, because as I said, we are none of us immune to those problems. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. Open 7:30 in the morning to 5, Monday through Friday. And they've got all your light bulbs. Oh, my goodness, all your fluorescent lights, all the tubes in many, many colors and sizes, all the ballast and repair parts. They've got lights. Oh, I'm telling you, they'll keep you out of the dark. All you have to do is call ahead. They'll have your order waiting for you. So give them a call, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, I got one more word. I'll be right there. Don't forget Valley White Home and Ranch. Everything for the 4-H'ers. I had a lady call me the other day and ask about some of the things they've got over there. Well, they've got everything, literally, for what you need. All your 4-H supplies, all your feed needs, and all the 4-H'ers receive a 10% discount through the end of the fairs. And I also want to acknowledge they've got one super great fishing department. So if you like to fish, that is the place to go. They got all the lures, all the bait, all the rods, all the reels, and the fishing licenses are there. I'm telling you, these folks have everything for the home, the farm, and the ranch at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Sean and Mandy, the whole crew, Valley White Home and Ranch, serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I watched that fiasco going over there, and I tell you what, I didn't see one fire truck with a big hose watering them down. They should have had 3 of them going full blast, hose them down, wash them off the street, but that didn't happen. I didn't see the National Guard turned loose like they're supposed to do. Instead of that, the chief of police and them had their hands tied by a dumb mayor.
Al, wait a minute. Stop right there. This is a top-down, black-on-white situation in Baltimore. In other words, what I want to say quickly is the mayor is black, the police commissioner is black, most of the commission for the city council is black, and so for someone to throw a racist tag out there and say, well, the white's this and the white... No, Baltimore is being led by black leadership, and it was absolutely pathetic last night.
Well, that's what I said. Why didn't the National Guard go in there and clean up the mess and say, okay, this is the way it's going to be. At 10 o'clock, you better be off the streets. And them young punks should have been hosed down. I mean, hosed down with them big fire trucks. That stops every riot.
Would you tell me why? And I've got to understand this because I've thought about it all night, and I woke up thinking about it this morning. And evidently, everybody else in the media is thinking about the same question I had. Why would the mayor stand there at a press conference and say, tomorrow we're going to impose a curfew? Why wasn't it done immediately to take effect last night?
I don't know, but like they said, excuse me, that communists has told us that they're going to take this country over internally, and it's starting to happen because we got a Mr. George Soros running around trying to do another sixth nation to take and put them underneath. And I'm saying put a stop to it, bring out the National Guard or whatever it takes, and get the instigators and the leaders and throw their butts in prison.
You know, Al, and here's something else to consider, and I want some more calls on this. What they were allowed to do last night, because the police were showing and exercising complete restraint and backing up, backpedaling, this is going to be a catalyst for other people in other cities and other problems to occur.
That's what I understand, and I still say if they'd had 3 water cannons out there and hosed them little punks down, they wouldn't have had all that burning and looting going on because the water tanks would have stopped it.
I really appreciate your viewpoint on this morning. I was absolutely astounded as to the lack of restraint when people's businesses were literally burned to the ground.
I know it, and that's the ones that have to suffer, is the innocent bystanders, because somebody has sort of a bunch of punks in there that didn't even belong to the community.
Amen. Thanks, Al. I appreciate it. Thank you. Calls are welcome. You know, and don't think for a minute, please, do not think for a minute that it can't happen in Burley, it can't happen in Rupert, it can't happen in Twin Falls, it can't happen in Salt Lake, Spokane, Sacramento. It can happen anywhere. Anywhere. And giving these vermin, and that's what they were last night, a license of freedom to do what they wish and burn and destroy and basically get right up in the police's face and literally spit on the police. And there is restraint and a backpedaling by the police force because that's what their orders were. No confrontation, no arrests. That was absolutely idiocy last night. Your thoughts, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget all the equipment for the jobs that you need to get done. You don't want to be sitting there saying, holy smokes, I got all this dirt to move over here. I've got to change. We're going to landscape this place. I don't have anything. Well, I know the answer. All you have to do is get a hold of Barry Equipment and Rental. I don't care if you've got a dairy, I don't care if you run a feedlot, or if you've got to change things for the wife in the front yard. They've got the equipment to get the job done for you. And they just got a truckload of M-Series Bobcat excavators, skid steer loaders, and compact track loaders in. 0% interest up to 60 months, and they've got all the equipment that you need. Absolutely. Barry Equipment and Rental with 3 locations: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They are always going to give you the best deal. Please stop in and see Eli and Nick and everybody else at Barry Equipment and Rental serving you. Hey, by the way, don't forget we had a wonderful time over at Denny's Restaurant last Thursday for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And we celebrated a real hero, and that was Russell Smith with his 90th birthday party, and it was phenomenal. The food was great as always. The service great as always, under really conditions of being so crowded. We had literally almost 100 people there. And Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland of Burley. Check out the menu, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Check out the great service. You will be a fan of Denny's Restaurants in Twin Falls and Burley. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. This quiet, unassuming person is on the line. But really and truly, Zeb, what were the police to do? I mean, look at the feelings that there is towards the police. I imagine they're terribly frustrated. They want to go in and clean up the thing, but they don't dare. Their hands are tied.
Well, no, I disagree.
Stepped in and
Helen, I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why, very respectfully, and then we'll have a conversation about it. With a restraint issue given to the police, and as this thing was escalating, had they started arresting people, had they marched against some of these young punks that had left school and picked up rocks and bottles and everything else, and started arresting them, and like Al said, bring in a water cannon from the fire department, they would have nipped a lot lot of that problem in the bud last night before it went dark and caused a lot of the fires, the burning, and the looting. The police absolutely were in retreat last night because of an absolutely insane order that I honestly think some of the rumors are true, came right straight from the White House. And that is what made Baltimore burn.
I agree with you 100%, but I can also see the other side of it. You know, how can you fight the federal government?
That's a really good, fair question. How can you fight the federal government? I honestly think, and Deanna and I talked about this last night, caller number 2, stay there, I'll be right there, that sometimes orders have to be broken for the safety and sanity and sanctity of businesses, homes, and lives. And quite frankly, if Obama did have anything to do with that order of restraint, if I were the police commissioner and saw my city burning, I would have said, go ahead, get them. I would have absolutely put my job on the line and said, no, I'm going to stop this before it gets any further.
But how far could he go if he doesn't know the people behind him, the citizens of the thing, the city, the people of the city? I mean, his hands are tied both ways.
Yeah, but there were a lot of good people. Helen, there were a lot of good people that right now this morning are waking up not having a business, not having a future. And that has to be considered before you let these young punks, these worthless punks, run the city.
Well, the thing of it is, when they are doing without food, when they're doing without clothing or anything else, maybe people will start to wake up.
I doubt it. It's going to make the situation worse. Helen, I love you. Thank you. God bless you.
Have a good day.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, my dear lady. She is special. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go.
Good morning, Zeb. Nancy and I so much appreciate the card that probably Deanne sent us. In Nancy's behalf.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think my handwriting's on there.
Really? Well, bless your heart.
Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, and you and Nancy mean a lot to us.
Yeah. I just barely got tuned in because I've been outside, but if you've already talked about this, just please interrupt me. But when I was watching it on the news last night, they said they had just built a brand new, not a retirement.
No, it was a brand new senior center, and it was scheduled. It was a brand new senior center, Keith, and it was scheduled to be open this coming December, and it was a multi-million-dollar project. And these idiots, these animals, went and burned that last night.
Well, you know how they did it? They got the fire trucks there and everything. But these thugs went up and punctured the hoses.
Yeah.
And nobody did anything.
Well, see, the hoses were punctured by slashing when they were trying to put out the fire at a pharmaceutical company, a drugstore. And there's just absolutely so much animal terrorism last night. These people are not human beings. They have no decency. They have no regard to personal property. They were animals and should have been treated as such last night. I have no respect for what happened last night, and I agree, and I want to say this very emphatically. I agree with Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark last night that said, quote, unquote, take control now, and they did not do it, and Baltimore is suffering because of it this morning.
I would rather guess that George Soros has something to do with this.
I can't point fingers until I have bona fide proof. Keith, I can't point fingers on speculation until I have bona fide proof. I won't do that. But I will say this. The liberal left in this country will do and create any problem necessary to get their point across. So I wouldn't put it past anyone. Thank you. God bless you. And Nancy, take care. All right, God bless. Hey, don't forget Gannett Landscaping and Sprinkler Service at 336 South, 450 West of Paul. All your trees properly pruned, all the stumps taken out of the ground. I'll tell you what, they know all about sprinkler systems. If you're putting in a new one or if you need to have the old one worked on, they can help you. And Scott's looking for some good help, too. He's getting so big, so busy, he needs more people that are experienced in sprinklers and trees. Give him a call, 438-2485. 438-2485. Gano Sprinkler and Landscaping Service working for you. Holy cow, I'm running late. Don't forget, right now, we're going to have the Capital Press Ag Minute. Caller, just hang with me. Do not hang up. I've got to get the Capital Press Ag Minute in here for just a minute, and then I'll be right with you. Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. And Christine, if you're listening this morning, I forgot to call you back yesterday. My wife kicked me in the leg and said, you forgot to call her. And Mount Harrison Audiology is located at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Number to call for a hearing screening, and I highly recommend this, 312-0957. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Idaho Department of Commerce Director Jeff Sayer wants to make Idaho a Silicon Valley of agricultural technology. Sayer said the venture capital market put $1.8 billion into agricultural technology in 2014. Sayer said there's a lot of expertise in the technology and ag sectors in Idaho, including work being done on agriculture, unmanned aerial vehicles, big data, and sensor technology at the state's universities. The Idaho National Laboratory is studying ways to help the dairy industry, and several dairy companies have moved their research centers to south central Idaho. On their own, none of these assets is large enough to attract global attention and major investment, Sayer says, but together they would create a critical mass of expertise that would make Idaho a leader in ag tech.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West's Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Hearing loss is not normal, and it's not an age problem, and I highly suggest that if you're having a hearing problem, I went over there, had a hearing screening, and found out what the problem is. I'll tell you what, you need to get a hold of Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Number to call, 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, I don't know if you ever seen Escape from New York with Kurt Russell or not, but I think that's what they need to do with Baltimore over there. Just send them guys in and let them suffer the consequences, so that nobody can get in or out, so that the government can't supply them with food, and that would kind of teach them a lesson that not to destroy their own neighborhoods, wouldn't it?
I do not understand. Somebody's got to help me on this. I do not understand what kind of real brilliant thinker is going to set a torch to his neighborhood grocery store that is just down the street, makes it handy for him to get food, and burn it out. Or burn down a pharmaceutical company where they get their medicine. Or burn down their church. Where in the world are these people coming from that are that stupid to cause that kind of trouble in their community?
Well, I'm blaming the parents, because I hear that it's the teenagers that was doing it.
No.
And obviously their parents are not around.
Not all of them.
I'm wrong.
Not all of them, and I got to be really fair here. It's so easy to blame kids for all the problem. But last night, in the afternoon hours, I should say, after school, yes, there was a multiplicity of problems caused by the teenagers out of school. One mother, I don't know if you saw this or not, but it bears watching and saving the tape. One mother ran out of her home, ran out in the street, got a hold of her teenage son that was all dressed in black, and he had a black mask on, and she pelted him with the back of her hand and the front of her hand, and grabbed him and literally threw him across the street to get in the house and get out of that chaos. More parents should have been like that mother.
Well, I agree, but I still, you know what's going to happen. FEMA's going to pull in there and cover everything that they've destroyed, and then give them free food, and I just don't feel like it's right. It sure wouldn't happen around here. We'd have to take care of our own and take care of things, and I don't know, I'm not real pleased with what's going on, but the whole world seems like it's turning that way, Zeb. So.
Well, last night, these were not punk kids. These were perpetrators that came in from outside the area. These were grown adults. These were many in their 30s, many in their 20s. These were nothing more than animals that came in just basically to upset justice and turn that city upside down and burn it. And I think the police should have just went in and started cracking heads, because there should have been numerous arrests, people laying on the ground, handcuffed, waiting for the paddy car to pick them up. I think that this whole thing was mismanaged from the get-go.
Where's Sharpton and Obama?
You know, don't ask that question, because I've got an answer for you. Just this morning, Al Sharpton declared, "I'm going to Baltimore." My gosh, that's all this city needs, is the likes of this incompetent boob.
Well, he'll just fire. I mean, he'll start it all over again.
Very possibly.
Guys up, and they'll do it again night after night after night.
Very possibly, sir, and I'm worried sick about what kind of antagonism this man, this little banty rooster that should have been stuffed in the corner someplace, is going to cause. Thank you for your call. God bless you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you. Yeah, Al Sharpton declared this morning, "I'm going to Baltimore." You know what? This is all they need. He's going to organize, he said, a 50-mile march from Baltimore to Washington, D.C. in protest of what's going on. This man is pathetic. He makes his millions, that he doesn't pay to the IRS, by the way. He makes his millions by the blood, tears, and sacrifice of other people and the losses of other people. Al Sharpton is nothing more than a pimple on the clear face of our public. And to have him say, "I'm going to Baltimore," if our president had any backbone, if our president had any value, he would say to Al Sharpton, "No, you're not, Al. You stay in your little office at MSNBC, and you just keep your big mouth shut." But that's not going to happen. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, real quick, I'd like to have some... folks, this... and don't think for a minute. I can't believe how naive we are sometimes. This can happen here. It can happen anywhere, with violence that these groups want to spread all across the United States. And I'm going to talk about gangs in just a minute, and how their involvement could make this very serious for all of us across the country. Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie, with a 21-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops, speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stand, and saving a lot of water. And the water expenses down, you make money, save money on Penetron by Maisie. Don't forget, Penetron treated crops have better roots that reduce stress for water and nutrients, and you can increase your crop's performance with the proven soil conditioner Penetron by Maisie. You contact your crop advisor today for Penetron Soil Conditioner. Caller, I'll be right there. I'm just a little bit behind here this morning. I got to get these in. Stand by, please. I'll be right there. Streamline Precision with our buddy Tim Vaughn. I had a chance to talk to him earlier this morning. As a matter of fact, I believe he's going to be on the air with me Thursday. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, next to Dot Foods. And the number to call, 431-7314, for all the estimates on things you need built for your property. Construction, excavation, fabrication services. They're putting up a lot of on-the-farm grain bin storage right now, and they're also currently building the brand new Funk Dairy just south of me in Murtaugh. I'm telling you, they know how to build. They're good. They're great. Making a coordinated, accurate, confidential, and consistent timeline to meet their clients' needs. Call them right now today. Tim Vaughn, 431-7314. Streamline Precision in Burley. They are the professionals building for you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, I just wanted to go over a few things about rioting. You know, rioting is a dangerous thing, so these co-rioters, they have to have something to cover them so they, in case they get hurt. So, they have Obamacare. Riding is hard work. After a whole night of riding, you've got to have some place to go and recover and rest. Oh, yes, you have a free home because of liberalism and welfare. Riding needs planning. You can't coordinate all these things if you don't plan ahead. Oh, yeah, you got the free Obama phone. And then, of course, looting, it's inconsistent, so you don't always have the money you need. Oh, yes, we still have payments to welfare. You see what I mean? When people have nothing else to do, they do this stuff. They need a job, and we need to force them to get to work, but it'll never happen.
Randy, that was one of the best tongue-in-cheek repertoires that I've heard in a long time. That was really good. And your last point is really great. I was listening to Richard Fowers, and he's the young man, the black young man that's on O'Reilly a lot of times and CNN and other places. And he's always taking the liberal left stand, and he said, well, these people need more jobs. Well, we need more jobs. Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. What is going to happen if you all of a sudden had a plethora of jobs available? Would these people take it, or are they too doggone lazy and slovenly and bent on being a welfare recipient, that they're going to take the jobs? Tell me that.
They have no intentions of working. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he says, I hired some guy, and he hasn't worked for so long, and he just doesn't have it in him. And he said he worked for 2 hours, and he's quit. And he's just going to go back to getting his check.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Stop for a second. Did you say that he worked for 2 hours and quit?
Yes, that's exactly what the man, the businessman told me.
Oh, my goodness.
You see, it's just like when you're standing on the street corner and you're begging for, we'll work for food, whatever the hell these cardboard signs say. On a windy, cold, nasty day, apparently they have someplace to go because they're fair weather beggars.
I wanted to tell you that you called the other day, and we visited briefly about Sheriff David Clark of Milwaukee County in Wisconsin, and he has been a breath of fresh air in this total mess that's going on in Baltimore. They referred to him quite a bit last night as to his opinion. Well, we have a call into his office, and we're hoping that we can get him on the air. I'm hoping tomorrow, and I also wanted to tell you that thanks to my lovely wife, Deanne, we obtained the number of the mayor of Baltimore, Stephanie Rawlings-Blake, and I can't believe it, Randy, but they did not return my call.
Hey, last night she was pinned down for what she had said, and she says, don't put work, whatever it was she said.
Yeah.
But she was backtracking, and I said, you know what? I tell you what, somewhere in the black community, there's people that stand up and speak the truth, but they're ignored, discounted, they're whatever. But you see, you can't ignore this forever.
I'll tell you something. Let me.
Hugo said the other day, and I'll be done right now.
Okay.
He said that Obama wants all hell to break loose, and by allowing these rioters to go ahead they wanted, I guess this is, in some cases, what Dave said. He wants to institute martial law. Last night I couldn't help but just over and over in my head.
I'll tell you something real quick, and then I got to get to the weather. I do not want to make this program this morning sound like I'm anti-black. Just the opposite, because I've got a lot of black friends. I will not call them African American. I refuse to. I will say that they're blacks. And Charles Payne from Fox News, he is a new hero of mine. He stood up this morning and last night, by the way, and said, this very intelligent man that has his own program program on Fox News, a economic program about monetary needs and investments, etc. He said that blacks could be very successful if they wanted to. He raised himself out of the ghetto and poverty and is very successful. He says it's all about drive. It's all about wanting to use your talents, and he was very unsympathetic against these animals that were looting in the street.
Yeah, they don't even have to worry. They don't even get arrested for breaking the law.
Yeah. I got to run, Randy. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right. Hey, we got to do the weather real quick. Brought to you by Quick. Yeah, there we go. Quick. There you go. Lennox is our sponsor of the weather this hour, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You and your family will enjoy the comfort, gas furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, all of this and more through Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Here now, the weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Drews is over the ranch. Another nice day in the Magic Valley. Temperatures slowly getting up into the 70s and will remain in the 70s all the way through Saturday. So look for a high today. We'll look at about 71, 72. A lot of sun, very little clouds. I'll be arriving in the Magic Valley on May the 8th. That May the 8th, you have portrait that you would like done, headshots you would like done, senior pictures. I'll even be there in time to get a family portrait for Mother's Day and have it printed for you. When I get there, all you have to do is just give me a buzz. My number is 702-250-2114. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Hey, Mama's Day, Mother's Day coming up on May 10th. Don't forget the Drift Inn at 545 F Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, they got a special plan for Mother's Day. You better call now and make reservations at the Drift Inn in Rupert, 436-1300. They're going to have special Mother's Day hours, 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock, all with delicious specials like prime rib finger steaks, butterfly shrimp, chicken cordon bleu. Wow, that's going to be good at the Drift Inn in Rupert for Mother's Day. And Colonel Dale and the crew at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Everything for Mom. You want a greeting card for Mom? They've got it. You want a nice book, a new book for Mom? They've got them. Precious moments for Mom. They've got them. All the things to make Mother's Day a special day. The Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Really nice people. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. You know, I just can't understand why this situation was handled the way it was. They let the wild animals run over the city, looting, burning, destroying, being a danger. There was no curfew last night. And other black leaders, again, going back to this Charles Payne with Fox News, was just absolutely incensed with the lack of adult responsibility, the lack of black leaders stepping to the forefront and saying enough is enough. Stop this. Enough of the community to stand out there and say, that's it, we've had it. Enough of the police being ordered to be with restraint and stand down. Where was the National Guard that was called? Oh, well, they showed up this morning. Yeah, they're deploying right now. The police were put in a very serious and precarious position. They were put in the position of being called cowards. That's it. Very unacceptable. And here's something else that is very, very serious right now. The reports were out last night that very dangerous gangs like the Crips and the Bloods and the Black Guerrilla family all joined forces. They put down their hatred and animosity for each other, and they joined forces, and there were reports that they were going to go out and start killing and assassinating white police officers. Ladies and gentlemen, do you not see and hear? This is the United States of America. That's Baltimore, one of our treasured cities. that is having these kind of threats, having this kind of demonstration, having this kind of rubble. And where is President Obama? I didn't see him on the news last night. I didn't see him asked to give a special report. I didn't see him getting involved like perhaps he did with Ferguson, Missouri. Maybe he'll take time today out of his busy schedule between the 9th hole and the 10th hole to make an address to the United States. I know I'm being sarcastic against our president, but it even pains me to call him a president. There has been more turmoil. There has been more unrest. There has been more civil disobedience under this man since 2008, black on white or white on black, since he took over as president. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to tell you that I got to start going in next week to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Why did I have trouble with that word this morning? But the folks at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation are so well trained, and I've got to get back in there. I got some more work I got to do on that leg. Nick Greenwell, physical therapist, and the entire crew. I mean, we're talking about Jordan Anderson, Jeff Jensen. Jeff's a really nice guy. And the whole crew, they are such excellent people, knowing all about sports medicine, all the exercises. They've got the hydrotherapy pool there with the treadmill in the bottom. Oh, my goodness sakes, helping you get back to being you. Absolutely the best. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2, and the number to call for an appointment, 678-1191. Please call them today. Well, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. When you look at the pictures of what happened in Baltimore last night, I mean, really look at the pictures. And look at some of those that were published of a black teenager standing probably 40 to 50 feet away from a line of policemen and throwing bricks at them, knowing that there will be no repercussion and there will be no action taken against him. And then look at another picture in the paper this morning, a burning police vehicle with a black man walking away. And then look at the one that really got my goat this morning, is a demonstrator with a gas mask on, taunting the police, knowing that nothing is going to be done. That is not a civilized society. That is not the America that I grew up in. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I think this is just exactly what Barack Obama wants to happen all over this country. That's his way of destroying us and bringing in his own sense of civilization, his type of civilization.
Tony, I hope, and please do not be offended by this statement, I hope and pray that you are absolutely wrong, but I fear that you're right.
Well, it's happening here. You know, the rest of the world, our enemies, are seeing just how easily it is to take this country over. Mm-hmm. And right now, if we don't come down on people like this, these demonstrations are going to happen all over the country, and they're going to be instigated by the terrorists.
Yeah.
This is all part of a big plan to ruin this country.
You know, we are, Tony, your point's well taken. Right now, we're on the precipice. It's like having your boot heels on the edge of a cliff, and you can't back up anymore because you're going to tip off into the abyss. Right now, we've got to take control of this country. We've got to stop this internal burning, looting, and just absolutely destroying our country because, like you just said, it's going to start here, it's going to start there, it's going to start there, it's going to start here. And pretty soon, America is going to go up in flames.
Oh, absolutely. This great country that took 200 years to build is being taken down by Barack Obama. And this new Attorney General Are we going to be lynched by Lynch? I'm really upset and I'm suspicious of this new attorney general they put in.
I am not at all impressed with Loretta Lynch. I'm not at all impressed with what's going to happen under her watch. I think we're in for a lot of trouble, but I will say this. There are bright spots. And when I look and listen at, like, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, with he's a black man that has an attitude of being colorblind. He wants equal and fair law for all. He is a man that absolutely will take control in situations like this, and I just wished and prayed that we had more people like him.
I was impressed by that sheriff. I really was. I've heard him a couple of times, and I think we need more people like him.
Amen. Tony, take care of yourself, please.
I sure will. Thank you.
All right. God bless. Thank you. Well, I have just a moment here. I want to remind everybody about a great big spring tire sale that's going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Now, you say spring tire sale. Oh, boy, you better get in there and check out all the tires for your car, like the Ultra Z900, or for your pickup and SUV, like the Open Country AT. Very convenient credit for tires and services. My goodness, and they've got the best tire value promise in the industry. What are you waiting for? And along with that, the brakes aren't working so good, huh? Went to stop the other day and slid another 50 feet. Well, I'll tell you what, you stop in there, they got the best in professional brake service anywhere. Shocks and front end alignments, you name it, batteries, all there with your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pauline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yes, sir, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Here's what we've got coming up for the rest of the day at 9:06 this morning. We're going to be talking to Jared Meyer back east, and he's a member of the young millennials that absolutely are concerned about the national debt and the lack of jobs and what happened in Baltimore. Then at 9:30, we're going to be talking to Pastor Dave McGarrah up at Caldwell at the Deer Flat Church. He and his congregation and church are bringing in to speak this next week the lovely and very knowledgeable Brigitte Gabriel. And then Dr. History at 10:06, followed by Kyle Drennan at 10:30. We got a lot of things going on. Stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in 6. Oh, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome back to hour number 2. And we want to say thank you to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything, and I mean everything, for the farm, the home, and the ranch. And, of course, people like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Those are the key words. Locally owned and operated. Kelly and the crew serving you. Number to call, 734-6969. They are all over the valley taking care of your garbage, getting rid of it. You give them a call, get on the route service today, or if you need a dumpster, whatever, they can help you. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. Really good folks. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget when we mention every day on the program about really good folks, that leads me up to our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager. Family, and a great staff that are helping other families. When there's the passing of a loved one, it's absolutely, like I said the other day, a very tumultuous time, trying to get everything done, dot all the I's, cross all the T's in a very short span of time. They can help, they will help, and they know how to help at Hanson Mortuary. So please remember, always serving you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and we're very fortunate to have this young man with us on the air. He's been here before. Jared Meyer, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning to you. I'm doing great.
Jared, I appreciate the fact I had a chance to talk to you a little bit before the program started this morning. By the way, Jared, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do? That type of thing.
So I live in Washington, D.C., where I work at the think tank, the Manhattan Institute, and I focus mostly on policies that affect economic growth, specifically government regulations. And I have a book coming out next month called Disinherited, How Washington's Betraying America's Young. And it's about how a lot of government policies, they come together and create an environment that favors older, established interests at the expense of young people, which really sets them back for future success.
Oh, I got to ask you questions about that book. I mean, I'm really intrigued. What did you study? What did you look at as an example? What did you really put together on paper to come up with the title and also the concept, Disinherited? Why do you feel the way you do?
Well, you have to start with the biggest issue, which is the national debt. I mean, America's $18 trillion in debt, and that's just the on the balance sheet. But if we look at programs like Social Security and Medicare, which are already bankrupt, the so-called fiscal gap, what economists call it, is about $205 trillion. That's 12 times our GDP. So really, to pay this off, it's going to fall on young people. It's going to fall on their shoulders, and all these benefits that, you know, older Americans were promised and they earned, I view it as they were sold a false bill by politicians who told them that this is paid for, you know, with Social Security, for example. My grandfather worked his whole career paying into the program. He definitely deserves what he was promised. But what he wasn't told was that it's really a pay-as-you-go system, not an investment vehicle that just takes from young workers and gives to older retirees.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there a lot of animosity, talking about Social Security, is there a lot of animosity against the system and against us in general, the older folks, because you, the younger generation, might not get a chance to even share what you might have put in already?
Well, I think no one views it as their grandparents, you know, purposely doing anything to set them back. This isn't generational warfare. It's rather politicians have consistently, throughout a wide variety of programs, put in place policies that favor older interests at the expense of young people. Moving beyond the debt, if we look at the Affordable Care Act, I mean, regardless of what else the act does, one of the main things that it accomplishes is diverting wealth from young people to pay for older people's health care. Because right now, no matter how healthy you are, if you're a 26-year-old male, you can't pay more than or less than 1/3 what an elderly ill person has to pay. So it's transferring money from young people who really usually don't have very much money to older people who have had a chance to build up a career and amass some wealth for themselves.
Now, let me ask you this, Jared, and I want you to be really straight up honest about this question. Don't you think, though, that a lot of the millennials, people that are your age or even younger, they have contributed to the debt in this country by going to college when they have no business going to college, getting these huge student loans when they should maybe have gone to a trade school to be on the employment list instead of just being a professional student? Don't you think that they bear some of the animosity that's shared for the national debt?
Well, you're absolutely right that a lot of people are being shoved and just told that they need to go to a four-year college when that might not be the best choice for them. As you brought up, trade schools are a great alternative for many students, and also community colleges when you can kind of, see what works for you, figure out what you want to study, and save some money while you're doing so. But the one thing about student debt, which now stands over $1 trillion, is that you can't shed it in bankruptcy. So unless a President Obama has success trying to let students, shed their student loan debt, which I do not support. This isn't going to contribute to the national debt, though it does place a heavy burden on a lot of students who made the misinformed decision to go to a 4-year expensive school where it often takes them 6 years to graduate.
I have said many times on this program, Jared, and you've been on here before, so you know I'm a pretty straight shooter with what I say, that all of us are to blame for where we are today. We have let politicians become career politicians. We have let politicians just make millions and millions of dollars under the table with greed, corruption, and graft. Our whole political system, in my opinion, needs a complete rewashing or even a throwing away, if you will, and starting over with new people and fresh blood. What about people your age? Do you agree with anything I just said?
Yeah, and I think a lot of millennials are they're kind of just sick of government in general. Only 18% of millennials believe that government regulators have the public interest in mind. And one of these reasons might be that they see, government protecting, for example, taxi cartels against popular ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft, or getting in the way of them when they want to, go out and start their own business. They have an idea on something to work on, yet they find out that governments put in place policies that protect established businesses and keep out new competition. So they're less politically aligned than older Americans, but they're definitely sick of the system and they want something changed.
How come something isn't being done? How come your age bracket isn't just absolutely demanding? And for that matter, how come people in my age bracket are not doing anything? We have turned into a nation of sheep. And last night, what happened in Baltimore is a good example. We are not demanding better of our country and of ourselves. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think a lot of people, and you pointed it out, both younger and older Americans, they don't see what they can do to affect the political process, and they feel almost helpless. If I vote for this candidate, I'm just going to get more of what happened last time. What difference do these parties even make? When we had 8 years of a Republican administration, the debt exploded, and now we're in the midst of an 8-year Democratic administration, and the exact same thing's happening. So really, where do they turn?
Okay, so what do we do about it? I mean, like last night, I called you earlier, in fairness to the people listening to this program, and I called you earlier and I said I wanted to incorporate what's happening in Baltimore into our conversation this morning, and I just want to throw this out at you and see what your thoughts are. All of a sudden, they burned, they looted, they destroyed their local pharmacy, their local grocery stores, their shoe stores. Why? Why would anybody with their right mind want to come back into that respective community and rebuild, knowing that it's a tinderbox and they might lose everything? And why would somebody want to establish a good job working area there because it's been so volatile? I mean, they hurt themselves by being so stupid, did they not?
Yeah, and there's absolutely no excuse for the behavior that went on, especially when there were, the week before there were peaceful protests going on. There was, they were bringing up the issues that they felt were important, but they were doing it the right way, moving into violence and looting and burning and attacking police officers, doing themselves no favor. The rioters, but a lot of times these rioters are coming in from out of town just to cause trouble. They're not showing the true feelings of the community, which I do think a lot of young people in Baltimore have a right to be upset. I mean, if we're looking at the teen unemployment rate, it's 17% right now in the United States, and if we look at the African American teen unemployment rate, it's 25%. There's a lack of job opportunities. There's too high of regulatory burdens, especially in large cities, as this has just accumulated over the past years, and they really feel they have nowhere to turn. But the outsiders who are coming in and turning what was a peaceful protest into this, disgusting display of riots, there's really no excuse.
Jared, let me ask you this, and I want to kind of play a little bit of devil's advocate with you. If all of a sudden there were let's say 1,000 jobs. 1,000 jobs at about 2 or 3 different factories or something like that, right back in the Baltimore area this morning. Do you think that the blacks in those neighborhoods, would really go and apply for those jobs, or have they become so accustomed to having welfare and government assistance that they would basically not want to do the work?
I think a lot of them would apply, but I also wouldn't blame people who would choose not to work, because the way government programs are set up right now, if you go and take a job, you can actually earn less money by becoming ineligible for benefits. So setting up a system this way that truly discourages work and makes economic sense for people to sit at home and let their skills deteriorate rather than contributing and, finding meaning in work, that's really the main problem. When you're setting up this, we see it a lot with single mothers throughout America. If they decide to go to work, they're actually going to be bringing home less money for their children. So can we really blame them for deciding not to work?
All right, now, what do we do? What about the millennials? What about the old fogies like me? What do we need to do? How do we make our demands? How do we go about getting the ear of the legislator, the congressman or the senator, or even in the Oval Office itself? What do we do? Because nobody seems to be listening or caring.
Yeah, there has to be additional pressure put on Congress and the president, everyone, because politicians, they are, political animals. They will listen to public opinion if it's strong enough. It's just right now, things like the debt seem so large that it's hard to even wrap our head around. Like, do you know what a pile of $205 trillion looks like? I mean, I have no idea. It's really hard to visualize this. But taking a smaller example, state governments aren't off the hook either. States are an additional $5 trillion in debt, but to bring this down to the family level, each person in the United States would have to pay $15,000 to pay off just the state debt. So maybe communicating things like this, showing how it has real effects on families. This isn't just some, trillion, billion, all these high numbers out on a piece of paper. These are real. These are real dollars that will have to go from hardworking families to pay off promises that politicians made but decided not to pay for at the time.
What about the politicians themselves, Jared? I mean, let's face it, the Democrats are throwing one person out in front of the public eye, and that's Hillary Clinton. How can a young millennial, or all the young millennials, look at Hillary Clinton and all the scandals, all the money laundering, all the different things that have happened from her husband Bill when he was president and Secretary of State when Hillary had that position, the lost emails, I mean, the absolute sleaze and under-the-table attitude? How can they respect just one nominee from the Democratic Party, and who on the Republican side has earned respect? I certainly will not vote for Jeb Bush if he's the nominee.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at what young people are excited about in politics, taking the Democrat side, they're really riled up by Elizabeth Warren just because she's offering something different from Hillary Clinton, who has strong ties to Wall Street and has, been a Washington insider practically her whole life. So a lot of young people are excited about Elizabeth Warren. They just see her bringing something different and that she's not intimidated by the Washington machine. I think on the Republican side, a lot of young people are excited by Rand Paul with his stand he's taken against NSA surveillance, his views on regulation, and kind of how one thing I've heard is there's this growing group of young people. They're called Ubertarians, which is like libertarians when it comes to something along the lines of Uber or, these ride-sharing programs or all this sharing economy that they see direct benefits for and really don't want to have additional regulations placed on it because they see it protecting established businesses and cutting out opportunity for themselves.
Are you, now I know you, and I've had you on the program, and I understand where you're coming from. I know your background. But when you look at the overall numbers of the millennials, your age bracket, what would you say, 60% have got their heads screwed on straight and they really want to and want to develop a good job base and want to be a contributing source to America? 40%, 70%? What do you think in your age bracket are kids that really care about the success and growth of America?
I think a lot do care about that, but they're at different stages in their lives. For example, when you earlier mentioned the student loan debt, which a lot of times comes from poor decisions made by graduating high school seniors and going to a four-year college when it might not work for them. But it's harder for them to start concentrating on building a career, buying a home, starting a family, all these things that are viewed as stepstones on the American dream when they're suffocating under, let's say $30,000, which is about the average debt at graduation. So this is making them put off future life decisions, and I know maybe just a lot of them get discouraged and decide instead, I'm just going to take a part-time job, keep living in my parents' basement, which is fairly common right now. I mean, we have a large percent of Americans living at home. If we're looking at 18 to 31-year-olds, it's about 36% are living at home right now, which is an all-time high. And 56% of 18 to 24-year-olds are living at home. Again, an all-time high. So when mom and dad's basement's comfortable and you're suffocating under mounds of debt, I guess moving back home doesn't seem so bad after all.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, Jared. Be fair about this. Don't you think that sometimes kids your age, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the younger generation, don't they look sometimes for excuses not to go out and work hard and plan for the future, and that a lot of them want everything given to them right now, the immediacy now, instead of maybe 5 or 10 years down the road? I had to wait a lot of years after a lot of hard work to achieve what I've achieved. Do you think they've lost sight of the fact that they have to really roll up their sleeves and work hard for it, for the future, and not have it handed to them right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely see that, and I think it's a fair assessment of a lot of millennials. But also, I mean, right now, most millennials are in their 20s, and really, I think anyone in their 20s is more all about me and wants things right now, at least compared to, older, more mature Americans. But one thing I will notice, because in my book, I talked to a lot of millennials and tied in their stories in each chapter to show how these government policies are affecting real people. But a lot of millennials, instead of just looking for a high-paying job that they hate, they want to find something that they're really passionate about and are willing to maybe do a lot of unpaid internships or work part-time as long as they can do something that, they feel like they're making a difference or giving their life meaning. So this could possibly be something that shows more benefits later, or maybe, some may have to decide that instead they want to just, take a job and have that be their work. But that's one thing, the one common theme I noticed while talking to millennials.
Jared, I want you to, right now, tell everybody when the book is coming out, where the book can be obtained. Is it going to be at all major bookstores?
Yes, it'll be at major bookstores, and you can pre-order it on Amazon right now. It's Disinherited, How Washington is Betraying America's Young, and Encounter Books is my publisher.
I'll tell you what, if you'll send me a copy, I'll review it as quick as I can and have you back, and we'll kind of tear the book apart and talk about all the points and help sell some books for you. I appreciate it.
Well, it should be in the mail right now for you. So.
All right.
Thanks for helping to get me my start and talking with me all these years about a ton of different government policies.
Now, Jared, you're always welcome on this program. You're a straight shooter, and I've got a lot of respect for you. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot, Sam.
God bless. There is a very sharp young man, Jared Meyer, and talking about the national debt and jobs and the future for his age bracket, the millennials, coming onto the scene after college. And I really appreciate him coming on the program this morning. Holy smokes, we got to get some bills paid here, and we want to start talking about a little bit streamlined precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. Tim Vaughn, I was on the phone with him this morning, and he's going to be on Thursday. We're going to be talking about the Relay for Life. Don't worry about anything that you need built, because Streamline Precision can take care of it. Absolutely. You call Tim for an estimate at 431-7314. Now, Streamline Precision is a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services, and I'll tell you what, they've got vast experience in industrial development that includes dairies, feedlots, food processing, and multiple other agricultural applications. As a matter of fact, they're putting up a lot of on-the-farm storage for grain bins right now, and also they got the equipment to handle your big equipment needs. Whether you need dirt hauled in, they got the big side dump trucks, or if you need your farm rigs moved, the big farm rigs from field A to field B, they've got the rigs that'll get the job done for you. They can help you in so many ways. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. The number to call, 431-7314. Also, real quick, I want to remind you about Mother's Day coming up on May the 10th. Oh, my goodness sakes, yes. And the Goodie Shop is ready to serve you with a goodie basket for your mom. They're located at 133 West Main in Burley. Number to call, 647-0106. You can build your own basket, or you can select one that's already done. And the baskets can be filled with candy kisses and brownie treats and all kinds of other goodies. Oh, my goodness, you better believe it. They'll even deliver it to your mom's work. Oh, my. The Goodie Shop, 133 West Main in Burley. You call them today. Along with K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Number to call K&R Rental, 678-3122. Hey, it's springtime, and ladies, for Mother's Day, you need to call your husband up on the phone and say, Ralph, get that equipment so we can get this yard fixed up. Well, by golly, they got all the tools you need to get your property in great shape for this summer with absolutely the best of everything. Service and prices and quality parts to get the job done at K&R Rental. You be sure and give them a call today, 678-3122. Open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. K&R Rental in Hayburn. Oh, my. In just a few minutes, we're going to get on the phone and talk to a gentleman up in Caldwell, Pastor Dave McGarrah, and we're going to have him on the phone talking about Brigitte Gabriel coming into his church in just a couple of days, so stay tuned for that. Right now, I also want to remind you about Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, they've got all the ATVs. They've got all the dirt bikes, street bikes. They've got all the accessories. They've got a super shop that if you need some work done on your four-wheeler, your bike, whatever, they can take care of the job for you. They are the best, because this, at Let's Ride, is where the fun is sold. You get a hold of them today, and if you haven't had your ATV serviced yet, my goodness, with the weather this week being up into the 70s and possibly 80s, you better call 436-4771. Remember, Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Also, real quick, while you're on Highway 24 over in the Rupert area, don't forget about our dear friends and very knowledgeable friends. That's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more for your protection with Dean and Todd over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Number to remember, make an appointment and get in there and check out your protection, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You be sure and give those folks a call today. Really good people. All right, we're going to go to the phone line right now, and with me on the phone is Pastor Dave McGarrah. Dave, how are you this morning?
I'm just grand, Zeb. How are you?
I am fantabulous. Give me a little background about yourself this morning. I'd like to know more about who you are and what you do.
Well, I've got some roots there in the Magic Valley. My first church where I pastored was in the mighty metropolis of Gooding, and so I left my plenty of fingerprints there, and I've got I don't know, over 20 years in Idaho. But my ministry started there in Gooding, and the people of the Magic Valley just took us in, loved us, and grew us up, and we had an outstanding time. And now here I am at a church that's very unique. It sits 12 miles outside of town in the middle of a beet field. It's 107 years old, but it's still full of life. You know, for being 107, we should either be dead or in a nursing home, but the place is still alive and kicking, and we're excited about having Brigitte with us next week on Thursday night.
Let's talk a little bit about this, because it was so interesting when I heard that your church, the Deer Flat Church at 17703 Beat Road of Caldwell, was going to bring in a friend of mine that has been on this program many, many times, talking about Islam and the Muslim influence in the world and what we need to do to protect ourselves. Brigitte Gabriel, how in the world did you make a decision to ask her to come to Idaho to speak in your church?
Well, we've had an opportunity to listen to her several times at various places when she was speaking. And we are greatly involved in Christians United for Israel, which she's a part of. And anybody who knows about her, you know, she's very high profile. A lot of people in Idaho don't know about her, but she's an outstanding, high profile person, very passionate about Israel, very passionate about the persecution of Christians, and very passionate about this Muslim agenda. And so we were at an event together, sat next to each other at the Night of Israel in Washington, D.C. last summer, and I said, hey, why don't you come to Idaho? And she said, I would love to come to Idaho. And so she gave me her contact info, and long story short, she was willing to give us a date in May, and so we feel very honored to have her.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the location and the time, and a little bit about what's going to happen that evening. It's going to be in just a matter of a few days on Thursday, May 7th at 7 p.m. at your church. Now, what do you want the public to know? Is there still seating? Is there still an opportunity for people to come in there? Give us a little background.
Yeah, the church, it's a large church. We expect it'll be a great turnout. But we'll make sure there's room for everybody. Church can hold well over 1,000 people.
Oh, my.
And, you know, you can go to deerflat.org, where it's very easy to not only click on the Brigitte piece, but it will also give you a map and give you the directions to the church. So it's very simple. But, you know, that's going to be a full evening of having her speak, and I'm sure she'll talk about, you know, what's going on in our world and in regards to Israel. She'll talk about what's going on in terms of the persecution of brothers and sisters within the framework of Christianity. And then, you know, she's really going to open the box on this Muslim agenda. And here's the interesting thing, I think, Zeb, about most people, and that is that the majority of people are aware that, you know, Islam is one of the major religions, but they hardly know anything about it.
That's right.
And, of course, since September 11th, it's received a lot of media attention, and it's been portrayed as a very peace-loving, peace-preaching religion, and that's true of a lot of Muslims. But the question is it true of the ideology and the doctrines of Islam itself? And this is one of the things she's going to be talking about. So it would be pretty misleading to just stop at the awareness that, you know, it's a peace-loving and peace-preaching religion, because the heart of Islamic teaching, for anyone who's done any homework, is that the religion is not just a part of life, but life is just a tiny part of the religion. And so everything in life is dominated by this religion. It's a system that is social-economic, social-political, socio-religious. It's got a militaristic system garbed in this religious terminology. And so I think she's going to do a great job turning on the lights and helping people understand what is the driving force behind this.
I agree.
Religion. And so I think it'll be a very informative night for people.
You know, let me ask you this, Dave, and I've said this for a long time on this radio program, that the left in this country right now is preaching tolerance, and they're preaching that we're Islamic phobic if we're against Muslims and Islam, and that we're hate mongers and that we're bigots. And my stand is that we need to be much more aware of what's going on and what's happening with Islam, especially through ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, and other groups. I think naivete reigns supreme in this country, and it's going to hurt us in the long run. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. You know, listen, especially, you know, the people of Idaho, the mindset is, well, that happens over there, so we don't need to be worried about it or concerned about it. And there's a mental disconnect that happens with, I'm sure, a lot of your listeners, a lot of my parishioners, where they appreciate the info, but they don't take it serious enough to realize that this is just a timing issue before it's in our backyard. And I think that your commitment to educate your listeners and turn the lights on is huge, because, you know, as far as the Muslims are concerned, they've been given a mandate, and that mandate is to change the existing society into an Islamic society. And it's not about, you know, building a few mosques or for the needs of Muslim congregations or some schools or even a few cultural centers. It's to make Islam supreme and to dominate every aspect of society. And this isn't just the desire of some of the, you know, fundamentalists like Osama bin Laden and some of the ISIS people. This is very much what's being preached from a lot of the pulpits at the mosques, including here in the U.S.
Let me stop you right there and also say that I have been very critical, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I'll respect your opinion. I've been very critical of Christian leadership in this country from the pulpit, and regardless of the denomination. I have said that they have been lackluster. They haven't been following what's been going on in this country. Ever since the early days in this country, sometimes the school during the week was the church on the weekends, the same building. And I have admonished a lot of church leaders saying that they've had their heads buried in the sand and they have not been doing the job necessary to keep people aware in this day and age. Would you agree with that?
Very much so. And the biggest reason is because all of these things you're talking about are controversial. And nobody likes conflict. Nobody likes to create issues within the framework of the church. But my personal opinion is that the best way you can shepherd your flock is to keep them very informed and base that on, you know, the biblical mandates and the biblical teachings, because that, to me, is really looking out for your flock at the greatest level.
What about the political scene today, Dave? You know, I've heard pastors say, well, we can't get into politics from the pulpit, and I disagree. Right now, I believe that we have a leadership dilemma in this country for good, bad versus the evil, the real strong evil that's trying to come into this country. And I think that the pulpit and church leaders right now, they can turn this thing around if they'll just do it. Would you agree?
Yeah, very much so. I don't totally understand why a lot of guys don't, other than the fact that they either don't feel confident about what the issues are, they haven't paid enough attention, they've been disconnected. But to me, when legal issues, political issues, things that are coming down the pike that are facing the particularly, you know, American people as a group, when those intersect with biblical essentials, biblical truths, biblical positions, I think it's the duty of every pastor to address those things. And that's not turning the pulpit into a political podium. It's dealing straightforward and honestly with this issue. For instance, recently we had House Bill 2. House Bill 2 would have affected every congregation across Idaho for sure. I talked to many pastors about this. Hardly any of them, number one, knew about House Bill 2, and hardly any of them were even willing to talk about it with their congregation. And yet the church was right in the crosshairs of that whole bill, had it have gotten out of committee and been on the House floor.
Give us a little background real quick on House Bill 2 to refurbish everybody's memory, please, quickly.
Well, House Bill 2 for Idaho was the Add the Words group that campaigned to get the state to mandate or legislate that every business would not have the right any longer to choose who they wanted to give service to. Every bathroom, every public bathroom would have been gender neutral. So that no matter what was going on, you could cross paths with anybody in the bathroom. And number three, it put every church in a position where you had no choice about who you could marry or not marry.
The whole thing, and we've reported on this quite often on this program, adds to the sleaze and the decay of any moral values in America. And unfortunately, Dave, I believe the Add the Words people are going to come back again with more money behind them this next year in the legislative session. And we'd better be prepared because it's going to take more than just our legislature. I think we're going to have groups like yours and people like me that are going to stand up and say, no, we're not going to let our state go down in decay.
Yeah, this thing is not going to go away. We may have dodged a bullet this year, but it's not going to go away. And this is why, again, there's not enough connection or intentional involvement by the listening public to step up and get engaged with their, legislative representatives and really weigh in on the issues. And I think that's going to be imperative because it isn't going to go away. And I think that a level of loving boldness, boldness that's clothed in humility, where people are loved, but there are times you just have to say, no, that's not acceptable. And it doesn't mean that, you have any personal issue with the person. But as you said, a lot of times people are hesitant because the moment that they step up and speak up, they're automatically categorized. And, we've changed the definition of tolerance. And that's one of the things where tolerance demands now that you have to accept me like I am. And, the original definition of tolerance was, look, I love you like you are, but I am not going to agree with you on this.
Absolutely. Now, in the time remaining, Dave, I understand that you also do some radio work yourself. Tell us a little bit about the radio programs that you're on.
Yeah, thank you. I have a radio program that I share with a radio partner who is an Orthodox Jew. And the radio program is entitled The Teacher, the Rabbi, and the Preacher. And it's a 30-minute dialogue each week, and it's just raw dialogue between a teacher and a preacher, a rabbi and a preacher, that deals with all of the topics, those that have been historically divisive between our two faiths, those that link us together in virtues and values, and those that address the concerns of everyday living and what's going on in our society and our world. And so my radio partner's name is Charlie Shipman, and we are on station in Denver. We're on in Portland, the greater Portland area, and then we're on in Boise on KBXL 94.1. You can also pick up some of the previous broadcasts on SoundCloud.com and just put in Teacher and the Preacher. Or you can catch us on our Facebook where you can actually pick up some broadcasts there if you scroll down and look at it.
Let me ask you this question real quick, Dave. I'm a little bit over, but that's okay. I would imagine that in your discussions on this radio program that you and your partner on this show have discussed at great length the attitude that has changed, unfortunately, from this administration in the treatment of our number one ally in the Middle East, and that is Israel. Have you discussed this?
Oh, many times. You know why? Because, number one, it's so in your face, and this is the first administration that we've had that has been so anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. Let him say what he wants, but if you know people by their fruit, all you have to do is look at the fruit. Second thing is, we know that the vast majority of American people, those who listen to your program and lots of others, are pro-Israel. They're very pro-Israel. And the polls even show it, and the turnout to a lot of these things. I'm up on Capitol Hill every year meeting with our legislators from Idaho. We're so fortunate that we have pro-Israel leadership there among our elected officials there in D.C. And this is imperative because they're doing all they can with where their hands aren't tied to push back against the administration's treatment of the Prime Minister, its view of Israel, and its outspoken feelings in its positions regarding Netanyahu and the decisions Israel is making.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get back to May 7th. Give us a complete rundown again as to what's going to happen on May 7th at the Deer Flat Church.
Deer Flat Church, located at 17703 Beat Road in Caldwell. Take the Highway 55 exit off of the freeway, headed to Marsing, and go 12 miles and hang a right. You can find all the information at deerflat.org. We're going to have special guest Brigitte Gabrielle, who's Lebanese-born, passionate, hot-blooded, outspoken, doesn't mince words speaker, who will be talking about Israel, the persecution of Christians, and especially the Muslim agenda. It begins at 7 o'clock. Hope you'll not only attend, but bring some friends with you.
I am definitely going to be there with my lovely wife, Deanne, and we'll be there early so you and I can get a chance to visit a little bit. I'll look forward to it. And Pastor Dave McGarrett, thank you so much for being on our program this morning.
Yeah, Zeb, great to be with you.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Pastor Dave McGarrett of the Deer Flat Church at 17703 Beat Road. He said it was out in the middle of a beet field, and they can seat over 1,000 people, and it's going to be very, very interesting having a dear friend of mine, Brigitte Gabriel, coming up from Florida and speaking on May 7th at 7 p.m., and we will be there. Time for the weather, and I've got to get the weather in, and it's sponsored this hour by Mad River Laser. You know, I've had Nicole at Mad River Laser make quite a few different items for me, and right now we're in the process of shirts and sweatshirts and jackets and caps and everything else. Everything she has done for my business promotion has been absolutely first class, and the same for you. They can make banners, and they can make all the pens and the business promotional items, anything and everything that you need at Mad River Laser. And remember, everything is first class. 502 East Street in Rupert, Mad River Laser. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers. There's the ranch. Another nice day in the Magic Valley. Temperatures slowly getting up into the 70s and will remain in the 70s all the way through Saturday. So look for a high today. We'll look at about 71, 72. A lot of sun, very little clouds. I'll be arriving in the Magic Valley on May the 8th. At May the 8th, you have portraits that you would like done, headshots you would like done, senior pictures. I'll even be there in time to get a family portrait for Mother's Day and have it printed for you when I get there. All you have to do is just give me a buzz. My number is 702-250-2114. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Oh, boy, that weather forecast sounds really, really good from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to everybody this hour by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Nicole and Alex Pratt, absolutely the best. Hey, don't forget, too, I'll take some more phone calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to have a little word with you this morning, so give me a jingle. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Oh my goodness, for over 50 years, Lennox, an independent dealer through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, they have done all the shopping for you. 678-0459, the number to call. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, warm winters and cool summers. Really good folks. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And we'll talk about anything you want to talk about for the remainder of this hour. Once again, I want to mention that if you're headed up towards Treasure Valley this next week, possibly on Thursday, May 7th, don't forget that Brigitte Gabriel will be speaking at the Deer Flat Church, 17703 Beat Road in Caldwell. Actually, it's outside of Caldwell, like he said, about 12 miles out in the country, in the middle of a beet field. But I am looking forward to going up there. Deanna and I are going up next Thursday. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to take just a moment here, if I can, and let you know about what's going on with the National Pioneer Hall of Fame presenting Pioneer Farm Days. Now, this is free to the public and fun for the whole family. It's going to be next week on Friday, May 8th and May 9th, and it's going to be 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon over in Declo area. And this is a fantastic event for children and family and friends of all ages. They're going to have rides in covered wagons. They're going to have 6 Pioneer buildings to view and experience. I mean, they've got a blacksmith shop, they got a carriage shop, they've got a spinning wheel, they're going to show horseshoeing. It's just going to be a lot of fun. And I suggest that you give for more information a call to 431-4661. That number again, 431-4661. That's going to be the Pioneer Farm Days presented by the National Pioneer Hall of Fame. And I'm going to get some folks on the program, and we are going to be discussing that in the next couple of programs. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call real quick. We were talking about the mess that's going on in Baltimore earlier this morning, and there's also another thing to be really concerned about today. And today is a potential watershed moment for America's gay and lesbian couples, because the Supreme Court is going to make it whether or not clear about arguments they're going to be listening to, whether it should be the law of the land or no, nix it. And I certainly hope they nix it. I have never been a supporter of gay marriage on this program. I will do all I can to go against it. I think it's absolutely going to be the ruination of marriage as we know it. I think it's going to open up a Pandora's box of problems with other marriage-like people, items, animals, whatever. Honestly, I'm being crude there, but I'm being also very honest. I think the sanctity of marriage is about ready to go down the tubes if the Supreme Court votes in favor of same-sex marriage today. And on this program, I will do all I can to fight it. I want to remind you, too, about what's going on this weekend. There is something really special and something really fun going on Friday, May 1st. What's ever? Tell us. Well, it's going to be the grand reopening of Duck Uglies. That's right, 163 Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, you don't want to miss this. We talked to Jack Bates yesterday, the owner-manager, new management at Duck Uglies, and they are going to have a wild to-do this weekend. Listen to this. Starting at 5 o'clock on Friday night, they're going to have their grand reopening. They're going to have roast pig with all the trimmings. They're going to have raffles, and it's only $10 a plate, and you get a raffle ticket for that $10. It starts at 5. They're going to have music with the great Ned Carter, and then after that, Barton and Bowler. What are you waiting for? Duck Ugly is going to be a ripping good fun time this weekend, and they're located at 163 Highway 30 in Burley. Don't forget it. Be there with us at Duck Uglies this weekend. Going to be great. Holy smokes, we got Dr. History coming in the room, and he'll be coming up this next hour, and we're going to be discussing China and his trip to China, so don't miss that. It should be a lot of fun, and we'll certainly have more on that in just a few minutes. We had a lot of questions from people that said they wanted to hear a lot more about what he did on that 2-week trip over to China and visiting with the various universities. I want to remind you, too, that we have a segment on Thursdays called School Days in Cassia County. Hello, Dr. History. How are you? And on that School Days in Cassia County, we have 2 wonderful sponsors that we want to thank. One is A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got everything you need for the new baby in the family. Oh, my goodness, they've got all the items. They've got all the cribs. They've got everything for you at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And also, the other sponsor is Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. And all the surgery surgeries for the carpal tunnel syndrome, the colonoscopies, knee surgeries. Please call them today at 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland and a Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Doc, sit down there by the microphone real quick. We've had a lot of people that are anxious to hear you again on the program this morning discussing your Chinese trip. You didn't think it was going to be that popular, did you?
You know, it kind of surprised me. But I've had people ask me, said, we can't wait till next week so you can tell us a little more.
We've got about a minute left here before I go to the news. What are we going to highlight that we didn't highlight last week? I've got quite a few questions for you, as always, but what are some of the features you want to bring out about your trip?
How about farming? Let's see, cars, scooters,
Yeah, I was going to
tractors.
talk about the transportation. I also want to talk to you a little bit about the government, a little bit more than what we talked about last week. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that you're a little bit shy on that one. Hey, we're going to turn it back over to our main studios and be back in just about 6 minutes with Dr. History. Don't go away, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll see you then. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. And of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And we also want to remind you about some of our great advertisers, and they are Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, and along with Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. We're going to start with Dr. History in just a minute, but don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Today they're going to have, now here you go, Dr. History. Today they're going to have chicken shawarma. Chicken shawarma. I hope I said that right. And it's a Middle Eastern dish with chicken. It's really, really good. It's served with hummus and red cabbage slaw on a pita bread with super salad. That sounds really good. So everybody head into the Chadwick Sports Grill today at 139 West Main in Burley. Check out the rest of the menu. Oh, don't forget they're going to start having comedians there on Wednesday night. And no, it's not true. Dr. History's going to be there. But anyway, the Chadwick Sports Grill, everybody be there. 139 West Main in Burley. Speaking of Dr. History, here he is now, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, right across from the airport. Yep, old Zach and the rest of the crew with all your spring remodeling needs, whether it's lumber packages or maybe you're going to redo the roof. They've got all the shingles for you, all the upgrades on your windows. My goodness sakes, they've got all the carpet. They've got it all right there at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. We'll tell you more about them in just a few minutes. But right now, a good morning to the dynamic Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Nice day.
You laughed at me when I said I think we should do another program on China because you thought we covered it all, but you were wrong.
I was really wrong.
Hey, by the way, I understand you want to thank somebody.
I do. The person that really made this all possible for me to get over there was a lady by the name of Vera. She's the head of the English department at Peking University.
Okay.
She's the one that arranged for an invitation for me to get over there from the university. She arranged for a really nice room in their science building that had state-of-the-art electronics with so that I could do a PowerPoint presentation. She did the advertising, got the word out to the students, and I just wanted to thank her. She's just an amazing lady. She also is one of the people that presented me with an award after.
I want to say, too, that gift, you can't see it. It's over on the other side of this desk, but I've got that card holder all filled up with my business cards, and I really appreciate that. That was very nice of them.
Well, those students were like I keep saying, they were amazing students. I think the world of them.
Let me ask you this. We'll go down the list of some of the questions I wanted to cover this morning. What do the Chinese people, not the government, not anybody to do with the government, but what do the Chinese people think about you and I, the Yankees, the good old United States?
Well, I can maybe give you an example.
Okay.
When my friend Jack and I were at the Terracotta Warriors, and we were wandering around looking at all these 8,000 warriors that were made out of clay, there was a school there of, I would say, probably teenage-aged students, and they all dressed in the same uniforms.
Oh, really?
Same uniforms, and as we were going around, I would always kind of say hi to them, and one of the students asked if they could have a picture with me.
I see.
And I said, sure. And so all these students gathered around me to have a picture. They think that Americans, at least a lot of the students anyway, sometimes it's the first time they've seen Americans.
Really?
And so they really treated me like a rock star.
A rock star?
A rock star. I mean,
really?
they were so excited.
It's hard to envision you with long hair plinking a guitar.
It's true. But, so, I don't know about the older people.
Yeah.
But the younger people, the students, seem to have somewhat of an amazement about Americans.
Why? Why is that?
I think
is it our culture?
I think some of it has to do with Hollywood and movies and some of those things that trickle into China.
Now, do they, the Chinese, have a semblance of like Hollywood with the production of movies, etc.?
I did watch some Chinese TV.
And I bet you're going to tell me it was far superior to ours.
There was a lot of shooting, a lot of shoot-'em-up gang-type things, and they have soap operas just like we do.
Really?
And of course, I couldn't understand any of it, but I could tell by the TV what was going on.
You know, that's like when I went to Spain. I couldn't understand anything, and they didn't have the English version, the words on the bottom, and it was really a long 2 weeks over in Spain when I was watching television.
They did have one or two English-speaking channels.
Really?
Yeah.
And they were boring.
Sports.
Oh, sports.
So not too bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about, so they like Americans?
I think so, overall, yes.
Okay. What about, and I asked you this during the break when you came in, I said, what about people that have physical challenges that may be not as lucky as some, and they have a hard time getting around, whether it's a leg problem, arm problem, or whatever? Are they treated with respect enough that people really help them and watch out for them?
The thing that I found, a good example was when I would get on the subway, several times there would be handicapped people. For example, one lady had her hands she didn't have any hands.
Oh my goodness!
But she was able to carry a little can, and as she would walk through the subway, as it was going, people would put money into the can. Another one, I saw a young man that couldn't walk, and he was actually sitting on the floor and moving through the subway slowly. And again, had a can wrapped, tied around his neck, and people would drop money into the can.
Did it move you to the point where you probably questioned as to how others that had a physical infirmity were treated?
Yes, it does. And I have no idea what type of government aid they get. I don't know. Maybe they get some. But I saw enough of them out trying to get some money, sitting on the street corners and different places.
Really?
So, again, I don't know how much help they get other than what they do themselves or from their family.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something a little bit more cheerful. What about, you mentioned something about you saw a lady cooking something someplace.
Okay.
Something someplace.
When I was in the little village up in the mountains where the terrace farming is, I had outside of our hotel room, we had a little balcony, and I was able to look through binoculars and watch this lady cooking outside of a restaurant.
Yeah.
And
this is on top of the hill.
This is on top of the hill. So, what I observed, she had about an 18-inch long piece of bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she also had about a 10 or 12-inch stick sticking out of one end that acted as a handle.
I see.
Now,
it was that tough. Huh?
It was. The bottom end of this bamboo was sealed with something. The top end was also sealed, but there was some type of food inside the bamboo. Now, she would take the handle and put that bamboo, that round bamboo, into the fire and let it cook for 10, 15 minutes. Then she'd take it out, put it in a bucket of water, then put it back into the flames for another 10 or 15 minutes. She did that for probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Then I watched as she evidently was through. She took what looked like a hatchet or a long knife, and she split the bamboo in half, took the top half of the bamboo off, and there was some type of food inside there. Well, she put the top half back on and took it around to a couple that were sitting at the table in the restaurant. And she took the top half off, and the person looked at it and then evidently said, yeah, that looks good. And whatever it was, that person started eating it.
So it was shoved up into the bamboo stick or rod.
It was cooked inside the bamboo.
And you have no idea what it was?
I don't know if it was.
Why didn't you ask?
Well, I was sitting up high, and I didn't know. But
did it look like a pudding or something?
You know, I wasn't close enough to see. But I'm thinking maybe it was some type of a rice dish or meat. I don't know.
Now, when you talk about food and food preparation and restaurants and everything, are they a clean society for their hygiene as far as cooking food?
When I went to this huge market and I saw row after row, line after line of fresh fish still alive, swimming in little...
That's pretty fresh.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh. Squid, fish.
Oh, boy, I can't wait to get some squid.
All those things.
I told Deanne last night, I can't wait for a Sunday to have squid.
And the meat market, I've got to say, as I walked down the meat market, it all looked just as fresh and as could be. Now, there was no refrigeration.
Ooh.
And so they bring it in fresh every day, and people buy it fresh every day. So
what do they do with what they don't sell?
That's a good question. I don't want to wonder about the answer to that.
It's going to be the daily special on Friday.
It could be buffet.
Now, what about food preparation, though? I mean, everything looked like it was above board. And,
yes. Okay. Yeah, everything looked fine. We ate at some street vendors, and that could make you a little nervous, but my friend Jack had eaten at some of these before and had made it through okay, so I had a very good breakfast one morning with a lady that cooked what looked like a big tortilla, and then wrapped it with lettuce, eggs, and I think some chicken, and a little bit spicy, but
was it good?
It was very good.
When we get back, I want to ask you a question I didn't ask last week about politics, and we'll get right into that in just a minute. I want to remind everybody that we're very, very blessed to have Minnecasia Sales as our main sponsor of Dr. History every Tuesday at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Now, I mentioned a minute ago that they can help you with all your spring remodeling needs. They've got all the different lumber packages, and they got all the shingles for repairing your roof after the winter, and they've got all the windows where you can upgrade your windows for better efficiency. And don't forget, they've got all the Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment, too. The water tanks, stock tanks, everything. So I'm telling you to call right now and talk to these great folks, Zach and the rest of the crew at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Number to call, 878-2091. 878-2091. Really great folks serving you at Minnecasia Sales. Okay, Doc, what about politics? I mean, did you ever have the opportunity with someone over there that was just maybe a common citizen or whatever that could speak English? Did you ever sit down and just really talk about the difference in philosophy on politics, the United States versus China?
You know, that was a subject that was somewhat not discussed. And with the students, it was a subject that we really couldn't get into very much.
Really?
I mean, China is a communist country, and so I would like to have sat down and discussed philosophy, how they feel about America and our politics and versus their politics, but that opportunity did not come.
And they never made any comments about our freedoms or our culture and what our freedoms afford us or anything like that?
Really?
No. That's interesting.
It is, and it was, again, it's something I would have liked to have discussed, but it just...
Did you, and I think I asked you somewhat of this question last week, but I'll ask it again, did you at any time feel the communist political influence on you as a visitor in that country?
Not really. The Americans and the tourists are treated very well. They are not really stopped and asked for IDs or anything like that. So the Americans and I suspect most other foreigners that visit are treated very well.
Now, you showed me some pictures of some of the people that were workers and some of the working conditions as far as carrying people up a mountain, literally. They don't even think twice about it, right?
This is the way they were raised. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. I showed you a picture of a Sudan chair, which is basically a chair with a person on each end carrying that person that's in the middle sitting in this chair.
Is that how you got up to your hotel?
No, I hiked. I refused to let anybody carry me to my hotel.
How far was your hike?
I'm going to guess it was a third of a mile, maybe almost to a half. But it was
really.
I mean, I stopped several times, panting and puffing, and by the time I got to our hotel, I was tired.
You needed a shower.
I did.
And then you found out they didn't have one. It was down at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, they had showers.
Oh, okay.
Nice showers.
All right.
But one other quick thing is I showed you a picture of these ladies, these little old ladies with the baskets on their back.
Yeah.
And I saw them carrying people's luggage up to their hotel.
Oh, the ladies?
Yeah, the ladies carrying people's luggage.
Oh, my goodness.
From the parking lot down below.
We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, Doc. Hey, when you were over there, I'm sure they monitored you and where you were and kept a close track of you. Unlike, I know they don't have illegal immigration over there at all. I was just curious if that's how it was. I'll hang up.
I never did feel like I was being watched, or I just never did feel that at all. That I was being followed or watched or anything like that. I felt very free to go anywhere I wanted to go.
Really?
Yeah.
And you could?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
You didn't have to get like a travel pass to go to other areas?
Well, anytime you travel anywhere there, you have to have your passport.
I see.
So that was the only thing different, I would say, from the United States to there is you have to have a passport anytime you get on the bullet train, or I flew in 2 different airplanes in China, and then, of course, coming home.
Dumb question. Why would you choose a hotel up on the top of a mountain that you got to... I saw the hill and I saw the paths, and that's not easy to get to. Why?
That was the only place to stay. Because our driver pulled us into the parking lot, and he
down below.
Yes, and he said, "There's the hotels up there, and yours is one of them. So grab your bag, your pack, and we'll see you later."
A guy like me on crutches would have been sleeping on the ground at the parking lot.
At the bottom of the parking lot, in the car.
Was it really kind of a difficult climb?
You know, it was. I mean, anybody with leg or ankle or hip problems probably would have to have been carried.
Oh, my goodness. They'd have had to get a hold of a chiropractor.
That's right.
There you are.
Or those little horses I told you about.
Yeah. Oh, so they'd let you ride the horses?
No.
Oh.
Those were strictly for carrying, as I showed you a picture of, 2x4s, rocks, brick, food, everything had to be carried.
So everything up at that hotel was brought up by horseback?
Right. Or by back.
Really?
Yes. Food, everything.
What kind of living conditions were in the hotel?
The hotel was very nice. I mean, it was, I would say, not even really primitive. I mean, it had a television. We had a nice bathroom. It was small. We had a nice deck overlooking the terraced farming. Probably one of the more unique hotels that I stayed in.
Well, yeah, but I've never heard of having to hike like crazy to get to a hotel.
Well, there's no elevators.
Really?
But that was probably the most scenic, beautiful place that I stayed.
Were they a happy people, the Chinese?
You know, they seemed to be. I mean, I saw so many people smiling, and you see them on bicycles smiling, and I told the students I've never seen what seemed to be a happier bunch.
Really?
And one thing, I don't know if I mentioned last week, but, we always think of Chinese people being short. I saw quite a few guys that could check my jump shot.
Really?
A lot of tall
well,
Chinese
there's
people.
been a lot of people from the NBA come from China.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. So the height thing was a little different than I expected.
What, in all things considered, what will you remember the most from your trip to China?
I think the dedication of the students to study 10, 12, 14 hours a day. They just work so hard to get ahead. And I think the other thing is the dedication of the parents and the grandparents to see that their children get an education.
Really?
That is such a number one priority. That's the way that they can get ahead in China, is if they have a good education.
Now, you mentioned before we went on the air this morning that there is definitely a class system in China.
Yes. I think I mentioned last week, they have one chance when they're 17 or 18 years old to take one test. It's a 2-day test to get into the university. If they don't pass that test, they don't get another chance.
They don't get another chance.
So they can be things like an airline stewardess. They can work in shops. There's a lot of other things they can do.
Okay, but where did they get the education to learn to study for that test?
Starting when they're even 4, 5, 6 years old. They start when they're in elementary school, all through what we would call junior high school and high school. Those little children will be studying. I've seen them on the back of a bicycle or a scooter with their backpack open, looking at papers while they're riding to school.
Okay, honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, are they how much further ahead of us in education?
I don't know that they're that much further ahead because of the teaching techniques. I think that we have some techniques that may be a little bit better in the fact of the interaction between the students and the teachers. Whereas over there, the teachers kind of throw out what they want the student to learn, and the student is expected to just repeat that back.
So there's not really, like you said, communication between the student and the teacher?
And this is just my impression.
I see.
The American teachers, I think, interact more with the students.
What about the students' attitude? I know we're down to a few minutes here, but do they have kind of an attitude problem at times like United States students do?
Not at all.
Really?
They were so humble and teachable. It's like they were sponge, just wanting to learn all they could. And maybe it's because I was in a classroom with American teachers.
Really?
So I never did go into another classroom with, say, true Chinese teachers.
I see.
But in the classrooms I was in, they were very attentive and just wanting to absorb everything they could.
But what about the meeting people and the politeness and the overall personality? Were they a little bit more, I guess, nicer to adults than what some of our children are?
Not necessarily. I think that, where I stayed with my friend Jack, there was a little area where he would buy food and one thing another, fruit, and those people got to be very friendly with us. Very friendly, yes.
You know, Doc, final thoughts. Your trip to China, it was an experience of a lifetime, and is it safe to say that you can't wait to go back?
I've been there, and I've enjoyed it, and I can't say that I really, really want to go back now. I guess I'm just a good old farm boy that I like being out where there's not lots and lots and lots of people.
And not a lot of hills to climb to get to the hotel room.
That's right. I got a four-wheeler.
Okay. God bless you, Dr. History. The program went way too fast today.
It did, again.
I appreciate you. Hey, Dr. History is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, with Zach and the rest of his great, great crew serving you. Don't forget, right across from the airport, Minnecasia Sales, 878-2091. Got just a minute here, Doc, before I have to send it over to our main studios. The trip to China and the education, some things you'll remember the rest of your life. What about keeping in touch with some of those people?
I've actually got some email addresses from some of them, and they can also, and they have done already, contacted me through my webpage.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. See you next week. What are we going to talk about next week?
That's a good question.
Thank you. That'll be the program. It's called That's a Good Question. Dr. History, Dr. Ken Turner. God bless him. His trip to China. We had to take 2 weeks to get it all discussed. Thank you very much. Hey, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget to give them a call at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. We're going to send this over to our main studios, and we'll be back in just a few moments. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much and welcome back. I want to remind everybody about Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Don't forget, she's got all the Mother's Day items over there, hanging baskets and new shrubs and ornamental trees and planters. And don't forget, if you don't know what to get a gift certificate at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-5663. And don't forget, on Thursdays at 10:30, we have Vicky's Country Garden sponsoring the show named after me, Gardening for Idiots. And we'll really learn more about gardening from Vicky's Country Garden. I mentioned earlier, and I want to say it again, we are going to have a great festive time on this Friday, May 1st, at Duck Ugly's, 163 Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, my goodness. A grand reopening. Jack Bates, new owner and manager, under new management at Duck Ugly's. It's going to be fantastic. They're going to start at 5 o'clock on Friday night. Don't forget, they're going to have a great big roast pig with all the trimmings. Tickets are only $10 per plate, and with that, you're going to get a free raffle ticket, and you might win a flat screen TV or other prizes. It's going to be fun. You can stop in anytime, all the time, but don't forget, Friday, May 1st, grand reopening at Duck Ugly's, 163 Highway 30 in Burley. We're going to be there. Hope you are too. Right now, let's go to the phone lines. And with us on the phone from back east is Kyle Drennan. Kyle, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Zeb. Thanks for having me on.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the program. And I guess first and foremost this morning, I'm a little concerned about news and journalists and honesty. And I think, my own personal opinion, is that NBC Brian Williams did a lot to hurt the news industry and maybe create a hazardous image about honesty that's coming from all the networks. What are your thoughts about Brian Williams?
No, Zeb, you're definitely, you're totally correct on that. I mean, yeah, Brian Williams just, back in February when he was caught lying and embellishing about this story about getting, shot at in Iraq in a helicopter. I mean, that just, it completely undermined his credibility, and he's the lead anchor of NBC Nightly News, so I mean he's the top news person for the channel. He's the face of NBC News, and he undermined the entire network's credibility by doing that. And NBC has launched an investigation into it, and so far, leaked reports are starting to come out that they found 11 other lies, embellishments, stories, tall tales that Brian Williams has told over the years. And so, I mean, it wasn't just an isolated incident. So, I mean, it's a real serious problem. And, right now he's on this 6-month suspension from the Nightly News. But there's still a lot of, there's still certainly the possibility that they're going to bring him back in August when that is up. So, but these are real problems that they're going to have to address.
How do you address something like this, where you mentioned just now that there's 11 or 12 lies or fabricated stories that he made up? I mean, how is the general public? I know I couldn't listen to the man or watch the man on television if I knew he was embellishing the story to make himself sound better. How's the general public, in your opinion, going to take him back in their arms, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult. There was actually a report out yesterday that the president of NBC News, Andrew Lack, he's actually very interested and very keen on bringing Brian Williams back, which is kind of shocking given all the details and evidence that's sort of leaking out about how NBC is finding all these fabrications. The American people, when this hit back in February, I mean, there was definitely Brian Williams, had a fairly decent trust level in the polling. But after this happened, I mean, that just plummeted. He just, he had been a very trusted public figure, and then they did more polling after this all broke, and it had really just plummeted completely. So, yeah, it's very hard to imagine how the public is going to be able to turn on NBC Nightly News and see Brian Williams back and suddenly trust him again. I think, Lester Holt has been filling in during this time, and it seems like ratings have sort of stayed pretty steady. And people seem to be okay with him. But yeah, if you bring Brian Williams back, I mean, it just seems like you're just going to sort of, reopen the wound all over again, and there's going to be a lot of controversy.
Let me ask you this, Kyle, and this is kind of speculation and opinion on your part, but I mean, here's a guy, Brian Williams, that was in a helicopter, and he made some false additions to his newscast and his stories. Doesn't one think that the others with him on the helicopter or in other aspects of his other stories that he lied about, doesn't he realize that those other people are going to be there saying, wait a minute, that didn't happen that way, and sooner or later the truth is going to be told?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is amazing that he didn't seem to realize that or think about that. I mean, that was his undoing, because he told this story about Iraq so many different times and so many different occasions, and embellished it so much that other troops who were there, who were on the helicopter or at the time with him, just had enough, and they went on social media. They went and called up reporters and said, no, he keeps telling this story. That is not how it happened. So he really was his own undoing. He just kept promoting it, did it on his newscast, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of the troops who were there, who know that is not what happened.
What are some of the other instances?
They didn't think of that.
Yeah. Kyle, what were some of the other instances that have been uncovered as far as his other embellishments or his lies?
Well, there was just a report in New York Times on Friday that Brian Williams at one point was on the Daily Show and was talking to Jon Stewart, and was talking about how he was covering the Arab Spring in Egypt. And, in Tahrir Square in Cairo, where there were a lot of the violent protests and riots were happening during the Arab Spring. Right. Brian Williams described how, one faction was riding around on horseback, going through the square and attacking people, and Brian Williams talked about he made eye contact with the person on the lead horse of this group of men on horseback, and in reality, Brian Williams had been he was reporting on the story, but from his balcony of his hotel room, overlooking the square. He wasn't on the ground as these horses and things, were running by him, or but he described it in a way like he looked into the man's eyes who was on one of the horses, and it's like you were up on a balcony several stories up, overlooking this, reporting on it.
Yeah.
On the ground. So that was one of the things that has just been recently uncovered. And then another one was a story about he was in Israel at some point, and he was covering, the Arab-Israeli conflict, and he talked about his, rockets being, shot past the helicopter he was in. So something very similar to the Iraq story that he told, and
right.
That turns out to be not true as well.
Kyle, let me ask you this question, and I'm almost out of time, and I want to make sure I'm sorry, go ahead. You faded out on me, and I wasn't sure if you were there or not. Please continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I was just saying those are just a couple of the other instances that he's told that that have been fabricated.
Kyle, when you look at the overall scope of the seriousness of losing the public respect and basically lying about the newscast, are there other unnamed editorialists and newsmen that maybe have done the same thing that maybe they should be checked on also?
Well, I mean, you do sort of, this, I think, does uncover that sort of, you do wonder about some of these journalists who go on, because with Brian Williams, he would go on with Jon Stewart, he would go on with David Letterman, go on some of these talk shows and tell these fantastic kind of stories. So it does sort of pull the lid off, and now you sort of wonder about when other journalists like him go on to these talk shows and tell these kind of, elaborate stories. Are they telling the truth there, or are they just sort of, like he does, are they sort of like playing to the audience almost? I mean, so it does, I can't think of anybody specifically who, something's been uncovered about, but it does sort of like raise that question. I think people just sort of look at the media with even more skepticism now.
Absolutely.
Well, now how do I know that this person's telling me the truth when they tell one of these types of stories? So, yeah, I think that's sort of the wider impact of this, is it sort of creates this atmosphere of who can I trust in the media?
Absolutely. Kyle Drennan, and with the Media Research Center, and we thank God for the Media Research Center. They're kind of following up and making everybody toe the line, honestly. Kyle, I want to say thank you for coming on the program this morning. The best to you, and I'll be in touch and have you back in the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Seb. Good to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Really good guy, Kyle Drennan with the Media Research Center back east, talking about the honesty and or the dishonesty of Brian Williams with NBC, and whether when he comes back in August we can trust him or not. He's embellished and lied about quite a few stories, 11 so far on the NBC Nightly News. Hey, it's time for the weather real quick, and we've got to get the weather forecast on with Scarro's Meats. They sell Taste One Bite at a Time, located at 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, the number to call. Don't forget that $300 tax return meat package, beef, pork, chicken, cheese. Oh, it's delicious. Scarro's Meats, selling taste one bite at a time. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers. There's a bit of the ranch. Another nice day in the Magic Valley. Temperatures slowly getting up into the 70s and will remain in the 70s all the way through Saturday. So look for a high today. We're looking about 71, 72. A lot of sun, very little clouds. I'll be arriving in the Magic Valley on May the 8th. At May the 8th, you have portraits that you would like done, headshots you would like done, senior pictures. I'll even be there in time to get a family portrait for Mother's Day and have it printed for you. When I get there, all you have to do is just give me a buzz. My number is 702-250-2114. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. And the telephone number, 324-7657. These are really good folks with really good meat. It's Scarro's Meats. And remember, they sell taste one bite at a time. Hey, don't forget to Streamline Precision. Oh, these are wonderful people that can build anything for you. All you have to do is call Tim Vaughn for an estimate today on what you need done on your farm or ranch or property. 431-7314. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. They are a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services, and believe me, they know how to build things. They're right now finishing up and building the brand new Funk Dairy just straight south of me right here in Murtaugh. They can put up all your on-the-farm grain bin storage. They're authorized dealers in Sioux Cup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings, and do all the trenching for your pipelines, do all the cement work for your mangers and feed alleys. I'm telling you, they can do it all. All you have to do is give them a call, 431-7314. Call today. Tim Vaughn at Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, the professionals building for you. I believe we're going to have a special guest with us this morning in the remaining time here this morning, and that's Colonel Dale. Colonel Dale, are you on the phone with me?
I sure am. Good morning, Zeb.
How's my friend?
Hey, we're doing 100 today.
Well, I'm sorry for the short notice of asking you to come on the program, but I wanted to give a little plug, if I could, about the Pioneer Farm Days. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, we're so thankful you're helping us so much, Jeb. We really appreciate it.
Well, now it's good.
We're having this on the 8th and 9th of May, which is just coming up real soon. And this is our 11th year of promoting Pioneer Farm Days. Now, we also have a little village out there with 6 buildings. And then we have acreage, quite a good-sized farm. And then we have range up on the mountains nearby. And we take children for rides in our wagons. And gosh, 2 years ago, we had the Wells Fargo stagecoach out there, an original, and we took them for rides in that.
Oh, my goodness. Now, is there any charge, or is this all free to the public?
Oh, it's all free. There's no gate charge or anything like that. And on the Friday, we especially do that for children that I'm not supposed to use the word handicap or special needs. We just call them special children.
Right,
okay?
Right.
And we have help out there, and we cater to them, and we show them all around the exhibits and have activities that they can participate in, and that we take them for rides in Pioneer vehicles. And we have buggies and wagons and surreys and all kinds of things out there, including covered wagons and chuck wagons.
Well, now, this is really kind of a unique situation. And tell everybody where it's at so they know exactly the location, Colonel Dale.
Okay, the farm itself was founded by Ray Bagby, and you know him. He's just a fabulous guy to help us. And it's 1 mile east of Declo and a half a mile south, right across from Marsh Creek. And it's right there near the bench land of the Declo Mountains out there.
All right. And I understand that it's kind of a unique situation because they've got a blacksmith shop out there, a carriage shop. They're going to show how they restore some of the Pioneer vehicles. Tell us a little bit about what people will see when they get there.
You bet. We have 6 buildings out there. We have, now, I'm going to call it a Pioneer Root Beer Saloon.
Okay.
And it's a real one. I mean, it has the tables and the chairs for the old Pioneers played cards, and it has the bar and everything. And, of course, we've just set it up as an exhibit place and a meeting place. And we even have, in the past, some young people who come out there to get their marriage taken care of. They have to bring their own preacher, though.
I see. But, you know, it kind of takes everybody back to the real Old West, the way the Magic Valley used to be, right?
Oh, exactly. And that Pioneer shop has hundreds of... The blacksmith shop has hundreds of tools of all kinds, and I've traveled all over the country and seen different places, but I've never seen a more fully equipped blacksmith shop. And Ray Bagby can build a stagecoach from the ground up. I mean, he can make the wheel hubs, and he can do everything, and he's out there doing demonstrations. And there are vehicles in different stages of being built, and they can see how the work is done. And it's really interesting.
Let me ask you a little bit about the National Pioneer Hall of Fame. This has been really a kind of a lesson in love for you. You've really headed this thing up over the many, many years. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, when I retired many years ago, I don't want to say how long, but it's been a long time. I'm getting real old. But it really bothered me that every other state had a national park and did all these things for the children and handicapped people and just the public. And so I thought, well, why don't we have one? We got as good as... Our river's as good as any others. Our mountain is just as good. We have as good as they do in any other state, and why isn't it recognized? So I've been working on that for the general public.
Well, now, one other thing I want to mention, too, is that on Friday and Saturday, May 8th and 9th, somebody told me there's going to be some real good, tasty Dutch oven cooking. Is that right?
Oh, you bet. We have the best cooks and the best providers out there you've ever seen. Maybe you're acquainted with Ray and Sherry Archibald.
Yes.
They just put on a fantastic meal, and it's reasonable and so tasty. As a matter of fact, Sherry works with me here at the Book Plaza, and we do a lot of the planning together, and she's right here beside me right now.
You know, and now's a good time for me to apologize to her, because I was supposed to stop in and get a book about 3 weeks ago and tell her I'm still coming. I forgot.
That's right.
Listen, Colonel Dale, how big do you want these Pioneer Farm Days to go and grow? I mean, what are your aspirations for the future?
Well, we do have volunteers now through our Project Rudolph in all 50 states, and we have people that are coming out and learning what we're doing, and they're starting different projects in other states, and we're helping people to do that. And we've got the federal charter, we've got the national charter, and we're registered with the IRS, and every state is a legitimate, legal, non-profit 501c3 foundation. So we've got all the paperwork done, and we can help anybody set some up in their own community.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Friday, May 8th and Saturday, May 9th from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. The National Pioneer Hall of Fame presents Pioneer Farm Days. Anything else you want to add real quick, Dale? Go ahead.
I don't think of anything. I think we've covered everything. Sherry, can you think of anything?
Oh, it's just going to be great for families of all ages, from little children to people as older, young, as Dale here, but it's going to be fun. So bring the family. They can dress up in Pioneer clothes and their cowboy hats if they want, and it's going to be awesome.
I'm looking forward to it, and I promise we will be there. Dale, thank you so much. Sherry, God bless everybody, and I will be stopping by, Sherry. I promise to pick up that book. I forgot.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you. Wonderful people right there. Colonel Dale with the National Pioneer Hall of Fame presenting Pioneer Farm Days coming up on Friday, May 8th and Saturday, May 9th. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, I am so blessed on this program because I've got some of the very, very best people as advertisers and sponsors on this show. And my main sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. They're going through right now a great big spring tire sale. Now is the time to make sure that your car, your pickup, your SUV, your horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever you need tires for, make sure you check out this great big spring tire sale going on right now. Stop in and check out tires like for your car, the Ultra Z900, or for your pickup and SUV, the Open Country AT. Don't forget very convenient credit for tires and services and the best tire value promise in the industry. Peace of mind tire protection and lifetime tire and mileage care, along with the best of front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and of course batteries. And I want to stress they've got the best in brake service. How do I know? Because they have worked on my brakes for my pickup. Do a wonderful, wonderful job. So you stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. What have we got cooking tomorrow? It is going to be a jammed up, really good program. Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana, coming on the program. My dear, dear friend, former representative for the state of Idaho, Bert Stevenson, is going to talk to us about water and bring us an update. Then we have Josh Ledbetter coming. It's John LeBoutelier is coming on the program tomorrow from New York. And he's going to be talking about why did we remove Iran and Cuba from the terror list. Well, a whole bunch of good people coming on the show tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch. So, tune in at 8:06. We'll ride the horse for 3 hours to 11 o'clock. And we're right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m. and streaming live on the net, ZebBell.com. Zeb at the Ranch with old wheels running things over at the studio. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, God bless. And the way things were are the way things ought to be.